Gaming is going through a really toxic, terrible time right now where people are being basically supremacists for whatever video game they prioritize at the moment. Now, that might sound kind of egregious. It might sound really bad. Why are you using the word supremacy when it has to do with video games? Well, if you guys have been on Twitter, on YouTube, really any kind of social media where a video game is present, there's an overwhelming sense that people who don't think that that game is the best game ever created should be shunned from that group. Now, I've felt this twice on my time on YouTube. It hasn't really been that bad for me, but when I first played Warzone on my channel, I only ever played it once because I didn't really enjoy it all that much, if I'm being honest. But the second that video was uploaded, comments started pouring in about how Warzone is the worst game ever created and that Apex is the only game that I should ever play in my entire life. Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not that far. I've gotten so many comments on videos like the one where I talked about if Apex is worth picking up at this point, since it's been out for a while now. Also in my Hyperscape video yesterday, where people are just so overtly angry at other games for like just existing. And I'm not talking about like direct feuds with like, you know, Fortnite and Apex. I'm talking about like when Valorant came out and there were people in masses from the Fortnite community, from the PUBG community, from the CSGO community and the Apex community who were like tearing this game apart for no reason other than the fact that they just wanted to defend their game. They wanted to feel like their game should be hyped up. The whole idea of a video game being like quote unquote your game is kind of ridiculous. At the end of the day, video games are just a form of entertainment for us to pass the time and forget reality while we're hurtling through space at 30,000 miles per hour on this tiny speck of a rock. So I don't really see why every time a new game comes out, the bell tolls and people are ready to die in masses on hills defending their game that nobody is even coming after. Obviously, it sucks to see your friends and your favorite content creators move on from a game that you're invested in or that you've put a lot of time into. This happened to me when I was first playing PUBG and my friends moved to Siege, and then I played PUBG for a while and I got bored, I got lonely playing it, so I moved to Siege, and then I tried to move to Apex and my friends didn't want to move to Apex for quite some time. So I understand the feeling that it sucks when other people aren't invested in the same way that you are with whatever it is that you're playing. This is other things as well in this current climate with like TV shows and that kind of thing, where people are just so vehemently angry that other things exist. Now I'm going to talk about why it's actually a good thing that opposition exists in games and TV shows and movies, really in any form of entertainment or media. But this has just been something that's really been bothering me because like literally this stuff trends on Twitter. That's how popular this has become. And when I was younger, it didn't really feel like there was this kind of toxicity. Obviously, growing up between Halo and Call of Duty, there was always a little bit of butting heads, but it was never to this extreme where people were like taking to social media, mostly because, thank God, when I was growing up, social media didn't really exist to the extreme that it does now. But people feel the need to harass other people for the games that they want to play and the kind of things that they enjoy. Tim the Tap Man talked about this in a tweet that went viral a little while back, where he was saying when he first started and he was playing a game that first caught him on with popularity, people were furious when he switched over and he started playing CSGO, and then when he started playing Modern Warfare and then Fortnite. And every time he switched, he lost a chunk of his subscriber base and his followers, but then gained more here and there. But this isn't about the entertainment side of it. This isn't about where you're getting less views or where you're getting more views. This is about people who are banding together in these huge groups. Take, for instance, I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about when I say this, but the kind of people who have notifications turned on for Apex, and the second that they post, they're like, Apex is dead, Apex is a bad game, Apex is a terrible game, no one plays Apex anymore, the numbers are dying. Like that kind of thing. Those kinds of people who are probably coming from the Fortnite community or something like that, who are coming over just to harass and torment Apex players solely based on the fact that they just have this superiority complex that they think that Fortnite is the greatest game ever created. But this kind of toxic environment is terrible for gaming, for being a content creator, really just in general. It pains me to see this. It's so childish, it's so needless. I don't understand why, as a gaming community, we can't just let games come out and hope that games will do well. I remember growing up, people would wait on like multiple hour lines to get games at GameStop, and I think that was like the most united as a community we've been. Because once things started moving online, and once these huge companies tried to like push and shove and rip each other off and rival each other's games, we saw that kind of breakdown in creativity. Video gaming went from being a hobby that people enjoyed to a gigantic corporate enterprise, which is one of the leading markets on the entire planet. Gaming makes hundreds of billions of dollars a year, which leads me to why it's actually a good thing that this stuff happens, especially direct competition. So like, take for example PUBG, Fortnite, Apex, and Warzone right now, because Hyperscape has literally been out for 24 hours, and I've already seen hundreds of people crapping on it, despite the fact that it had one of the smoothest launches in recent history. The fact that all of these games are so big and are constantly rivaling each other for playtime is a wonderful thing, because it makes these games stop being lazy and become more inspired. And when I say inspired, I just mean that they want the money that people are spending on the other games, so they make their workers work harder, which isn't necessarily a good thing. However, the quality of their work seems to almost always get better. There's more patches, there's more events, there's just more items and more fun to be had, because if they don't adapt, improvise, and overcome, then their game will sink. They'll get a hole in their ship and they will get flushed right down the toilet, because at the end of the day, all you are is an expendable pawn on their chessboard of profit. You're dying on a hill defending these games, and these people literally could not care any less about you. So as a gaming community, I implore all of you to just stop wishing harm on other game developers, on other video games, on people who partake in video games that you don't necessarily enjoy. It's completely fine for people to enjoy games that you don't. Like, if you don't enjoy that game, just don't watch content from it. Don't watch content creators who make it. Don't play it yourself. You know, at the end of the day, whether or not you support Apex or Fortnite or Valorant or Hyperscape does not matter. It doesn't matter what game you play. It doesn't matter which game you monetarily support, as long as it's one that you yourself are enjoying playing, one that you have a connection to with the community, and one that you think has a team of developers who actually to some extent care about their player base. That's part of what really attracted me to Apex, was that the developers just have this like friendly online persona where they genuinely like want to talk to people who play their game. And that really, honestly, to me, still means more than having a game that's really good. If you have a game, even though, you know, at the end of the day, it's EA who's running the ship and all they care about is the profits that Apex makes, it's still nice to feel like you're part of a community where the developers care about you and your opinion, even if stuff since day one still hasn't gotten fixed and the servers are bad and all that stuff. I don't want to turn this into too much of a rant, though. I've had this weighing heavy on my chest for months now, ever since I really started getting into Apex content. One of my first comments on my channel was just a guy ranting about how much he hated Fortnite, which doesn't really make sense because I make Apex content. So a lot of people think that, like, just because I play Apex means I despise every living human being who's ever touched Fortnite. Now, nothing I said in this video means that you can't dislike the game or have an aversion to the player base. Or, I mean, there's genuine things that you can ridicule other video games about. You can say you don't like different aspects of it. But I more just mean, like, in a general way, to not be blatantly toxic and a jerk to people just because they enjoy something that you don't. And the same goes with Valorant. When I said on Twitter that I hope Valorant does well and that I wished Ace and Dizzy the best when they were leaving, people got mad at me and they were like, "Oh, what are you supporting these traitors?" I'm like, traitors? They're playing a video game. Like, what are you talking about? That's gonna be it for me though, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to clap that like button. And if you're not already, you can subscribe to the channel and join the club by hitting that red subscribe button right underneath this video right now. That's going to be it for me though, guys. So until next time, take it easy.